Hail, Og Saul of my tribe, and welcome to the Modern Barbarian podcast. We're back in the underground today, continuing our series on gear. Today is part 3. We're going to talk about armor. So, armor. Why do you need it? What's it for? What kind of armor are we going to talk about? What kind of armors do you need, right? That's what all today is about. We got some notes here. Quick note also, we're going to start trying to do a video format of this. So I will be posting the video format of this on YouTube and Patreon. And we'll talk about some more of that social media stuff at the end. But there is going to be a video of this one today. So if you'd like to try out a video form of this podcast, here it is. We got our notes. Let's dive in. So, we're not talking about armor carriers today. We're talking about the actual armor itself. The plates that go into these things that actually stop the bullets. And there are 3 types of hard armor. And a couple types of soft armor we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about some theory as to what it's for, why you need it, all that good stuff. There's not as much detail today, or, as much breadth of stuff to cover because it's just going over armor. Got my protein shake here. Hear me take a drink every once in a while. But just going over this armor. So let's start with our hard armors. There are 3 types of hard armor: steel, ceramic, and polyethylene. And they all have some pros and cons. And I'll have links to all these different types of armor in the show notes for you to go take a look at, and we'll talk about some costs as well. We'll start with steel. Steel pros. Steel can reduce blunt force trauma by spreading the impact over a larger area. So because steel is very hard plate, kind of curved to your body, when it hits, right, it takes and spreads that force over most of that plate, especially if it limits the back face deformation, which is how much the plate changes shape right in the impact area. Steel is one of the best at reducing that. So it takes and spreads that whole area, or that force across this whole area that the plate's in. Makes it feel like it didn't hit you as hard. It can take multiple hits in the same spot. So they're just drilling right there, trying to get after you. Steel will stop a lot more rounds than other types of armor. And steel doesn't expire. It's steel. It's always going to be steel. It's never going to stop being steel. So it doesn't expire. Now, some cons to steel. It's the heaviest of all the armors. Steel is extremely heavy. It's harder to form, which may cause some comfort issues. They can't get it contoured to your body quite as well. So, there may be a few points where it's not contoured. It either sticks out off of you in your carrier, or it tucks in and hits your body a little harder in a spot. So it can cause some comfort issues. And it can cause bullets to shatter and create shrapnel wounds. So spalling is what we're talking about here. They put special coatings on some steels, and some is sold without it, that when it shoots and that bullet hits it and flattens out, it's going to put pieces of petals out in up and down direction all the way around off of that steel, right? And if it doesn't have some kind of coating to capture that, or if your ballistic, or not your vest, not ballistic, but your plate carrier isn't thick enough to help stop some of that, then it's going to shoot all up. And what comes up is getting in under here to some sensitive stuff. So it can come off of it and get in here and cause a problem. It's not as big a problem as a lot of people make it out to be, but it can happen, and so it's something you should be aware of. And it's something the manufacturers are aware of, and they put special coatings on it to eliminate. So if you're going to get some steel, you want to make sure you buy the kind with a coating that can reduce that. So that's our steel armor. Our next armor we want to talk about, I forgot to tell you, steel armor plates run about $85 a piece. And you're obviously going to want 2, a front one and a back one. So you're looking at about $170 for a set of plates. They can be found on AR 500, Armor or Spartan Armor, or Optics Planet, all those guys sell this stuff. Ceramic armor. The pros of ceramic armor. It is lighter than steel. It's less expensive than the polyethylene. It's like the middle tier. And it doesn't spall. So it won't release fragments when it's hit. The cons, however, is it's fragile. It can crack if mishandled. So jumping on the ground or setting the armor down too hard can damage the ceramic, which can compromise its ability to stop rounds in the damaged area. If it gets a crack, it can go right through the crack or something. So you have to be a little bit more careful with ceramic armor. Now, it's not like, super fragile. You're not just going to touch it and it shatter. It's not like a pane of, untempered glass or something, but it can be broken. It cannot take multiple hits to the same area. So if they're really drilling an area and it messes up all the ceramic in there, the ceramic is not going to be able to make that round break up. So then the Kevlar behind it is not going to catch it, which is how ceramic armor works. If you don't know, it is a layer of ceramic followed by a layer of bullet-resistant Kevlar fibers usually. And so it hits the ceramic and it shatters that bullet into a bunch of pieces. And then all the fibers behind it catch all the pieces, so nothing comes through. And it's only good for about 5 to 7 years. Then it starts to degrade. The Kevlar fibers break down over time and they're not as strong. Ceramic starts to degrade some, so it has a much shorter shelf life than armors like steel. And then we move on to the third type of hard armor, which is polyethylene armor. This is a newer armor type. It is a plastic armor. It is the lightest of all the armors. It is also multi-hit capable like steel. It's actually stronger than steel as far as strength to weight ratio, right? It has a higher resistance to flex and bending and all that stuff. It's actually a little bit stronger than steel is. It will not cause bullets to shatter, and it will not crack. The cons, however, are that it starts to break down at 158 degrees Fahrenheit. So if it ever sees temperatures above 158 degrees, it will start to degrade. So extreme temperatures may be an issue. If you live somewhere in the desert where it gets 120, 130 degrees, and then you leave it in a trunk of a car, and somewhere you could bake cookies in the damn thing, then yeah, it will start to degrade your polyethylene armors. So you want to be careful about that. The other thing is that it's the most expensive of all the options. Polyethylene has the highest cost of all the armors. So, it's kind of one of those things. How often do you plan to use this? Is this an emergencies only thing? If so, steel's the cheapest and the longest lasting. You buy it once, you set it aside, you have it if you need it, you train with it, you're never going to damage it, you're never going to mess it up, and you always have it, right? Ceramic's a little bit more expensive, but you gotta replace it every 5 to 7 years, but it's a little lighter, a little bit more comfortable. So if you're gonna be in it all the time and you might need it, then maybe ceramic, and then you can replace the plates if they take a hit, right? Or you got your polyethylene, which is the most expensive, and as long as it doesn't see extreme temperatures, doesn't really break down either, so it has a really long shelf life. And it is multi-hit capable, light, comfortable, easy to form, so they can make really good armor. So it's the best of the armor options. And the way it works is actually really cool. What happens is it uses the centrifugal force of the round coming in and actually melts a small part of it that then re-hardens really quickly and captures the bullet inside of it. It doesn't shatter, it doesn't crack out or anything. It just encapsulates that bullet inside of it. So if another one comes into the same area, it's hitting another round and kind of doing the same thing, but sticking to the next round with the plastic. So it can take a lot of hits in the same area and be fine. It's a really, really cool idea. A really cool new armor technology that's super light. I have some for my son that he uses. He got it for Christmas from his grandfather, and he likes to wear it. It's not too heavy on him, and it's something he will actually wear and use. So, and it'll save his life. So there's that. I run steel just because I like to train in it a lot, and it's the heaviest of the armors. and it helps me deal with knowing the weights of armors and shit. Like, it's big, it's heavy, it's all over, so I get used to that feeling of being in armor, and get better at it. So if in the future I buy different armor, I'll still use Steel to Trade, and I'll have a set of polys in a better carrier. You know, I have a really good carrier, but that would be my, go time armor, if you will. Then another type of armor you can consider, depending on what you're doing with it, is soft armor. So soft armor is primarily Kevlar, and it has some pros and cons. So for Kevlar soft armor, it's lightweight. It's the only flexible, really flexible option. Like, there for a while, they were making shit like Dragon Skin, which was flexible soft armor, but it never really took off and had some serious issues. It's also the most comfortable. It's very durable and cut resistant, so it can also stop light knife attacks and stuff, which obviously all your hard armors will do that too, right? You're not going to cut through a steel plate with a knife. But this is something that's like a thick shirt that you can put on. I mean, really thick, right? Like a thick vest. But it will also help with knife attacks and other, slashing attacks, stuff like that. It's concealable, so they do make some that is wearable, let's say, under like a suit jacket or a winter coat, or even a big baggy like Hawaiian shirt, and people not know that you have armor on. So there's that, right? Some cons. This does not stop rifle rounds. They are usually level 3A rated, which means they are only good up to like 44 mag. Some of them will stop even larger handgun rounds, but the rating is only up to 44 magnum. So it's only good if you're going somewhere where you only think you would encounter pistol threats. If you think you're going somewhere where there's going to be rifle threats, you need hard armor. Alright, so there's your soft armor options. Next we'll have some helmets. There are a couple different types of helmets, depending on how much you want to spend and what you need your helmet to do. The first is a bump helmet. Now this doesn't stop bullets, but it will mount your night vision or your thermal optics or any of that stuff. You can mount your earmuffs, electronic hearing protection, all that stuff. So it's kind of a container for all the things that need to go on your head. Plus it does protect your head from like knocking into overhead stuff. It just doesn't stop rounds. It's hard. It protects your head from attacks, bumps, knives, running into shit, just not bullets. Alright. Team Wendy makes some of the best helmets that I've ever used. They're extremely comfortable. They work really well, but they're also very expensive. I don't personally own one. They're that expensive kind of thing, but I have got to use some of the friends of mine that have them, and they're awesome. And there's also a company called United Shield that has them. That's a lot more affordable, but still good. I wouldn't say they're as good as a Team Wendy, but they will work, and they're a lot more affordable. Then you got your ballistic helmets. Now, ballistic helmets are friggin' pricey, boys. They're about $1,500. But these stop pistol bullets and do all the same things we talked about in the last one. They hold your optics, your nods, your thermals, whatever. They hold your earmuffs, all that stuff. Again, Team Wendy makes the best ones that I've used. They're really good. And if you're not going to use them, then there's other brands out there, but they're the ones that I know and recommend and trust. Then you got some military surplus helmets on the market that are really good helmets. They're a little older, but they'll still do the job. They'll stop pistol bullets, but you're usually going to find the older, outdated designs, which are heavier, and you can't wear earmuffs with. They're the kind that have the whole thing. So like a helmet, and then there's the part that comes out here to protect your ears, and you can get under it, put earplugs in, or like Bluetooth earplugs or whatever like that, but you're not going to wear good earmuffs with them. They just, they don't fit. But some of the surplus ones are the modern cuts with the thing out for your muffs, so there's that. You can get that too. Those run you about $200. I found some links here I'll put in the show notes with places that have them, so you guys can take a look if you're interested in any of those. So, something for me that I want to say though is that a ballistic helmet is a little bit less important than your body armor. They stop less threats, they're very expensive, and they're not really needed for most civilian non-military applications. There are other ways to carry night vision and thermals if you're going to have that. And it only stops a very limited area of bullets, right? So, if they cap you through the ear or in the T-box, there's no helmet there, you're still going down, which is where everybody aims. And it adds a lot of weight to your head. So, I prefer not to use one. I don't normally run a helmet. I don't use a lot of night vision and stuff, so it's not a big deal to me on a place to mount it. Now, when I get more interested and trained in night vision and understand its capabilities in a civilian world a little better, that may change and I may want a helmet. But right now, I don't use one. All right. Oh, we got through all the armor types in about 15 minutes. This may be one of the shorter episodes, but that's all right. I just need to pass the information, and it doesn't have to take forever. So let's get you guys some more information. So we're going to talk about the theory of armor. Ways to set your armor up, ways to use it, when you might want it, that type of stuff. So I've got a few notes here I want to go over with that. Ways to set up your armor. Your armor must be as comfortable as it can be so that you will actually use it, right? If the armor is really uncomfortable, you'll find yourself wanting to take it off all the time. And armor over there in the corner doesn't stop bullets from killing you. So you need armor that you'll actually wear, right? So in order for you to know if you're actually going to wear it, you're going to have to get used to your armor. Which means you need to use it in some everyday tasks, right? Put it on while you're making dinner sometime. Or when you're doing your dry fire in the morning. Chuck that armor on and, wear it around while you're doing it. Other tasks, you don't want to be all mall ninja and run around in town in friggin' armor, right? Unless you're planning on needing it. Then do this somewhere where you're not causing a big scene. There's no reason to draw that attention to yourself. One of the things that a modern barbarian does is, while we are not looking to fit into society, we're also not looking to draw the attention of authorities onto our tribe. And running around with guns exposed and body armor in town is a really good way to get unwanted attention on your tribe. All right, another thing. Armor as a chest rig versus armor and a chest rig war belt setup. So when you're going to set up your gear, think about how you're going to use it. Me personally, I run my armor slick. So carrier armor, nothing on it. And then I have a chest rig war belt setup that I can wear over that armor. So I can use the same gear in the same positions with or without armor. Right? So I train in my gear. I know where my mags are. I know where my smoke grenades are. I know where my IFAK is, where my radio is, all that shit, right? And that's always the same whether I'm in armor or not in armor. And I do that because I have, the full LBV kind of setup, chest rig, and war belt that carries all that. And then I can put my armor on and have that, or I can take my armor off and still wear the same gear. Other people like to do that differently. They like to have their armor with the stuff on it. And it is their primary thing because they don't really have a need for going out without armor, right? And so, or if they do, they have an entirely separate set of gear for that. For me, that's an extra cost and an expense that I didn't want, so that's not how I choose to do it. But you can choose to do yours however you want. And in our next episode, where we go into more gear-related stuff, I will have some examples of that. I'll get some video or some pictures of the gear that I actually use and put it out there with it so you can see what I'm talking about. Then we've got what your armor should carry, right? Which we kind of talked about. Some things that you probably should have on your armor, even if you're going to run it slick, are like a blood type identification patch. So if you get hurt while you're in it and they need to transfuse blood, they know what your type is, that kind of stuff. But again, I run mine pretty slick. You can run yours however you want. It's just up to you. So when are some times that you might use your armor? Well, armor for home defense, right? So you are in your home and you hear the bump in the night in the house, and your family's, wife's in the room with you, kids are out there, and we got to go through this house and make sure we're not being attacked and everybody's safe. That's a perfect time to put on armor. You think there may be something in your house, and you're going to go out there alone and see what it is and make sure that everybody's safe. Well, if it happens to be somebody out there with a gun, that's exactly when you want armor. So that's the time you should put that shit on. Another one that most people don't think about is home offense, right? I come home and my door is open. My kid's car is here. So I think the kid is in the house, but now the door's open and there's a strange car here and I don't know what's going on. Now, a lot of people would say that may be an overreaction, right? But if I think that there's a threat in the house, I don't recognize the extra vehicle. It doesn't look like one of my son's friends that I know is there all the time or something. I have reason to believe that there's a threat in the house. That's home offense. I'm going to go in there and make sure my tribe is okay. Armor. That's when you wear it, right? I'm going into a dangerous situation. I put on the shit that stops the bullets. So there's another possible use for it. Now, in order for that to work, it has to be something that was with you when you left, right? If you store it in the house and you don't take armor with you, like in the trunk of your car when you go, you're not going to have it for that situation. So something to think about. Is it worth having a set in the trunk of your car? Is it worth taking armor with you? Or is that too much and you don't think that you need that? That's a decision that you've got to make for yourself. Armor when traveling. So I have a theory that when I travel is the most likely time to wind up in a really bad situation. I'm outside of my norm. I'm outside of my designated area. If something were to go down, then that's when I would be in the most dangerous situation. I'm far from home, far from people I love, far from support. I've got to get back to there, and I need to be as safe as possible while doing it. That's a situation that I would want my armor in. So when I travel, I don't tend to take a rifle. I tend to take my big handguns. Not big, but, not my micro carries, but my full-size carry guns. But I like to have my armor with me so that it's in my backpack if I need it and I've got to walk a long distance home, or I wind up in a shit show, somebody's attacking a hotel that I'm in. I've got that, right? It's just nice to have that little extra layer of protection in a bad situation. And then the one that everybody's kind of talking about is shit at the fan situation, a little Teotihuacan / government overstep, right? That's a really good time to have some armor. If you got bands of roving gangs, and the Teotihuacan, by the way, is the end of the world as we know it, for any of you that don't know that little acronym. So, world has all fallen apart, I don't know, global winter, or economic collapse, or whatever it is, right? It'd be nice to have some armor for you and your family if the shit is really going down. People are running around in gangs and stealing and raping and doing all that crazy crap, right? You're armored up. You got your personal defense weapons. You know how to defend yourself. That makes that a little bit easier situation to deal with. So there's another use for armor. And then if we have some problems with the government, right? The Second Amendment was there so that we could have all the same gear and equipment that any modern military could have, because when they wrote it, they had just finished fighting off the most modern military that ever existed. They had the chance to be able to do that because private citizens had the same stuff. They had the muskets. They had the rifles. Private citizens owned cannons. Fuck you, Joe Biden. Private citizens owned entire warships. They were called privateers. They owned entire battleships with cannons on them and were hired by the government that was taking over, not the British, right, but by the revolting American government, to go be privateers, which is basically a legal pirate, and blow up British ships and take all their shit. They did that because they owned cannons and they owned boats, literal warships. So, yeah, it was written so that we could have all of it. All of it. But we have slowly let that dwindle away over time and let them take more and more and more from us. And now we have to have special permission to buy a fucking chunk of aluminum that may one day be turned into a gun. Yeah. Super awesome. That's not government overreach at all. Not a time you might want some armor when they're doing shit like that. So, one other thing. Don't be a damn mall ninja. You want good gear and only what's needed. Okay? You need a decent plate carrier to carry it. You need the stuff to actually hold the things you need. However many magazines your thing is. I keep 3 on the main battle rig, and then I have a drop leg that I can add to it that adds another 6. So I can have a total of 9, and one on the gun is 10, or actually I run coupled mags, so 2 in the gun, or ready mag, still 2 on the gun. So we're talking 10 or 11 magazines max. Some people like more. I think that's plenty. I keep spares in the day pack that I keep on it, so I have it there. But if I get into a firefight where I'm running through more than 11 magazines and I can't duck my head to get some out of the day pack, I probably fucked anyway. That means I'm in a solo firefight that's running hundreds of rounds deep. It's not a good day. We just need to avoid those kind of situations if we all can. But anyway, that's what I like. But don't just go buy a bunch of cheap shit just to have stuff, right? Buy things that work. Buy things that you actually need. And don't stick a whole bunch of crap all over your gear because you think it looks cool. And then the shit's out to here this thick and you can barely fucking move and can't walk through a door in it. Right? This stuff has to be practical, usable. We're going to talk about lines of gear at the end of all of this stuff, where we talk about where stuff goes and what stuff's needed and why and how to get to it. But just don't mall ninja it up and put a bunch of stupid shit on it. Right? You don't need a big Punisher skull on it. You don't need fucking chem lights all over it or whatever weird shit, right? Just only what you need. No gimmicky shit neither, right? Some of the stuff I could think of that was gimmicky shit, like they had for these plate carriers stuff, they had like specialty weird removal pieces and stuff. Like you could, not like an IFAC makes sense, you take it off, right? But tear off fucking magazine pouches that you can move and stick somewhere else, or a friggin' pistol stuck across your chest over here in a weird position that you can't draw it, you know, because it looks cool. No, you don't need any of that crap. Stick to what works and what you know works and what you need. And you don't need every piece of armor ever made. Just cover your vitals and fight fast. So, one of the things we talk about when you get into armor, they make so many types of armor that you can literally walk around looking like Iron Man. They got these big pieces that go over your shoulders, then your chest pieces, then side panels, and then helmets, and then danglers that go over your junk, and all this stuff. Like, you can walk around in a freaking suit of, like, medieval armor. But then you're carrying 100 pounds worth of fucking armor on you, and you can't move. And movement is how you actually not get shot. Armor's how you stop a bullet when you cussed up and you got shot anyway. But you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to use all that armor, and that's what most of that shit causes. Like, if you're going into a building to defuse a bomb, yeah, wear a bomb suit, right? Makes sense. Don't wear a bomb suit to go walk around in the woods, because then you can't move around, you're going to overheat, and you're wearing too much armor. So don't buy a bunch of gimmicky crap armor. You don't need a throat protector and fucking shoulder pauldrons and all this shit. If you get shot over here, it sucks, but it's not death. Cover the shit that kills you and roll on. Something else to think about is armor for your tribe, right? Should your kids have armor? Should, like mine does, right? But my boy is almost 17 years old. He's been through multiple rifle training classes, owns his own equipment, knows how to use that stuff. He is a fighting age male and a member of the tribe, so he has the gear. Maybe your kid's younger but you still want to be protected. So maybe you look at some backpack armor, right? Something that they can take with them, and if God forbid, a school shooter popped into a school where one of your kids was, they have this thing that they can put on that stops bullets to help protect them. Something they can hide behind in a corner or something if some jackass starts spraying fucking rounds in there. That exists. They even have a really cool one that has back armor, and you can reach in, push it over, and it creates a front panel also. So it kind of turns into like a mini plate carrier that just tucked in. It looks like a normal backpack unless they need it. Now it adds some weight to your kid, right? But they can just go whoop, and then boom, they're in armor, and they don't have to, I mean, they still got to worry, right? But it helps defend them and defend their life. So something to think about. So are they old enough to be fighters? Do they need fighting gear? Or are they young and you just want to help protect them and you get them like some backpack armor? Do they even need that? Do you live in an area where you're concerned about that? I mean, every area is kind of concerned about it a little bit, but you know what I'm saying. If you live way down in the sticks and there's 12 people that go to your kid's school, or they're in a really good private school with really good security or something like that, and you don't have to worry about it, then you don't have to worry about it. If you're in an area where it's more likely, or there's a lot of gang violence and your kid's got to walk home or some shit, maybe they need some armor at a higher priority than somebody else, right? Should your wife have armor? They make armored purses, right? They're kind of small, but they can hang over their neck and at least cover this area, right? Is she interested in being one of the fighting members of the tribe? Mine, not so much. She's a self-defense person. She would defend the house if they came in, but if we had to go do any real fighting for some of the reasons we've discussed, that's not something she wants to be a part of. So, combat level armor stuff is not something she's into. She doesn't need it. Yours may be different. If so, think about that. Should your dog have armor? I know, this is a weird one, but if you've got a dog like mine, who is an attack dog, and that you will have with you if you're going out, should their vest be armored or have the ability to be armored? I would like to have some, at least soft armor for my dog that I could throw on her vest and, protect her from the ATF maybe. But realistically, I would like to have some soft armor for my dog because she is a fighting dog. That's what she's trained to do. And if she's going to be with me doing the fight, I want to defend her as best I can. So on my list of things to get that I don't currently have is a really nice vest and armor for my canine. If you have one of those types of dogs, maybe you might want to armor your dog. All right, and then trying things out before you buy big. It's okay if you want to try something in theory, like oddball placement or some kind of mag configuration or whatever that you're experimenting with and not dedicating that gear to use. You can choose to buy a cheaper piece of gear, right? Like I have some cheap pistol magazine holders that I would never use in the real world for anything, but they molly mount so I can put them on gear and I can use them in like dry fire practice and see, do I like a pistol magazine up here on the shoulder or some crazy shit? No, I don't carry a pistol magazine on my shoulder. But the point is, you can try out crazy ideas and see if it works for you, right? Maybe you want to try a horizontally mounted pistol mag somewhere so that if you wind up blown over on your back and you can't get to the ones where you carry it back here, you've got one up here that you can go and reload a pistol if you need to, something like that, right? Try that out with a cheaper piece of gear. If you like it, buy a real one. Set your cheap piece of gear in the shelf somewhere for the next time you have a crazy idea, you still have it, right? That is an okay thing to do, so that you're not investing thousands of dollars into gear that you'll never use. Have some crap trash that you can use to try out ideas to see if it's even feasible. That's okay. But you need to replace that with quality gear ASAP if you decide to use whatever placement that you come out with. Don't trust trash gear with your life. Okay? And if it doesn't work, you can just ditch the cheap shit and move on. Shove it on a shelf somewhere out of the way for the next time you have some crazy idea. And then dry fire with your kit. For the love of God, dry fire with your kit. That is how you're going to build comfort and speed and efficiency using what you have. Your brain needs to know where that shit is right now. No time for bullshit. No looking down here. Oh, where's this magazine? Where'd I put my tourniquet? Right? It always needs to be in the same spot, and you need to be aware of where that is quickly. So you need to actually put your gear on and use it. Dry fire is a great way to do that. Empty all the ammunition out of the magazines. Have training magazines, or like one of the things I do. My primary load comes off of my rifle, right? And then I have a speed load on my gear, and then I move mags forward, right? So if I have to use my rifle mag and I get a lull, I'm going to take one of the mags in a bad spot on my gear that's harder to reach, and I'm going to put it in the secondary ready mag spot on my rifle, or, mag coupler, reloads, whatever I'm going to do, right? Depending on which gun I'm running. Or move it forward. Like if I use my speed reload off my primary reload position here, I've got my rifle up and I've used this, right? Now then I got a lull. I'm going to take mags from a bad spot and I'm going to refill the gun, then refill the speed reload spot. Always move mags forward, right? To your primary reload position. Say that to say, you can practice in your gear from that primary reload position and then pretend to grab one and put it back there, right? You only need really 2 magazines to do this. One for the gun, one for the primary reload, right? And you slam a reload. Once everything's clear, you get the thing off the ground. You put it back here where it would be in a bad position if you carry one there, or over here, wherever it is, and pretend to move that magazine from there to the primary reload position, and you are working that practice. So 2 mags can still work your gear. You don't have to unload all of them. Just get the mags out of the way and practice. And that's really it, man. So you dry fire with your kit. You see what works and what doesn't. Take it to the range and use it. Better yet, take it to training classes and use it. Get some more experienced people's eyes on it. They can find some stuff that you didn't find, or they can watch you using it and be like, hey, this position's not working for you. You're fumbling that reload every time, or something like that, right? And they can help you tailor that gear. It's much better to break it in training than to find out your stuff sucks when you really need it too. So don't be afraid to use it because you're going to break it. If you're afraid you're going to break it, you got the wrong stuff. Actually go to classes and the range and train with your gear so that you know it's good and you can trust it. And you can tailor it and adjust it and fit it and make everything exactly how it's supposed to be. And that's what we got today, guys. That's our little discussion here on armor. So, we're going to go over our social media stuff real quick and kind of do a little wrap up. First things first, Patreon. I've added a Patreon for any of you that are interested. And here's what I'm going to do. The Patreon's $5. That's it. There's going to be behind the scenes content. These videos are going to be on here. They're also going to be on YouTube, so you can watch them there. But what you're going to get, the first 5 people to join the Patreon, $5, mind you, are going to get 60 days of one-on-one coaching for your Barbarian lifestyle change. I will send you full meal plans for week by week, have entire shopping lists, every recipe you need, everything there, broke down, sent to you week by week. So you know exactly what to buy, what to cook, how to prep your food to be on the right path, right? I will send you custom tailored workout plans, tailored to you and your goals, week by week. Here's the days you work out. Here's what sets and reps you're doing. All this stuff. We'll have to have an exploratory set up front to find your weights, or if you know them, you can tell me, but I'll help you with all of your programming for the next 60 days. I will also give you fighting tasks, how to dry fire, how to practice, what guns are you interested in learning to use? Are you interested in learning to use knives? Do you want to do jujitsu or hand-to-hand or any of that shit? Tell me what you want to practice on in this lifestyle, and I will put together the program personally for you. But I'm only doing this for 5 people, and it's the first 5 people to join the Patreon for $5 and then ask for it. So if you join the Patreon and you don't want it, don't ask for it. Leave it for the people that do. But the first 5 people to join and ask for this deal get custom programming for the next 60 days. You get to try out this modern barbarian lifestyle thing that I'm doing. With me there, answering questions every step of the way, helping write your programming. I'll be on there helping out all the time, right? So that's the Patreon. Link to that will be in the show notes. Then the rest of our socials. We got our Facebook. We got our Reddit. We got Twitter. So Reddit is Modern Barbarian Pod. Twitter is at mod, M-O-D _Barbarian. Instagram is the Modern Barbarian Podcast on Instagram. We are on Tumblr at tumblr.com/blog/the Modern Barbarian Podcast. We're also on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on iHeart. I'm going to make a note right here because I haven't put the YouTube on here, but we are also on YouTube as the Modern Barbarian Podcast. One of the things that I do on there too that you can use is called Daily Dry Fire. Now, I'm not putting out a video every day. It's designed to be used daily, but they are videos that have moving targets on your TV screen that show up for a certain amount of time. And so you can draw and fire, or you can work multiple target engagements. One of them's like a room clearing thing, like clearing through a house. One of them's in a city, and more is coming. I keep building these as I go. So those are available for free on the YouTube if you want to do some dry fire stuff. Grab that Modern Barbarian Podcast YouTube channel, hit the Daily Dry Fire playlist, take a look at the videos there. They take about 15 minutes. So you get your 15 minutes of dry fire in just by running through that video and have some fun doing it. You know, something a little better than snapping in on the wall on a dot on your wall. This has got backgrounds and pictures and targets, and they're there for a second, and then the amount of time to engage them, and then they'll actually fall so you can shoot targets to the ground, practice good combat skills with a video. And then, of course, all the podcast places, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, all that. This show's on all of those. So, do me a favor. Use the social media. I've got thousands of people coming in. You guys are getting there. You are using it, and I appreciate that. But actually, go in and make posts on it, comment on it. Look for other tribe members in your area. That's what this stuff is for, is to help you build your tribe. So get on there. Use it. Find people to add to your tribe. Let's grow these tribes. And then share all this stuff. Get it out there on your social medias, because people that think like you, that are your friends, will probably like this stuff. And then we can build this network. And we can have all this stuff all the way across the country and build all these tribes and work together and really, really grow this and start this movement. And maybe, just maybe, tribalize this country the way it's supposed to be and fix some of this shit. And that's all I got, guys. Thank you for being along. This is the Modern Barbarian, signing off.